Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
I'm the inspirational Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and remember, follow your dreams, even when they're made of cheese.
And this is the news.
So, story number one, and it is a big one. Nia Jax, she's kind of knackered. This is not good for her. She, apparently, according to Pro Wrestling, she has suffered a double ACL tear, and she could miss up to a year of action, a full year. This is really devastating stuff from her. Obviously, she's been very prominently pushed in the women's division since arriving on the main roster. She's a former Raw Women's Champion. She has featured prominently in the tag team title hunt with Tamina alongside her as of late. She wrestled at WrestleMania. So this all broke over the weekend. Nia herself has commented on the situation on social media, saying, and I quote, "Some of you may know or may not know, but I will be out of action for a little while. Unfortunately, I've been pushing through some pain over the past year due to injuries in my knees, and I will be undergoing surgery to repair both of my ACLs." So, not that much to unpack here. It's a pretty cut and dry story. She's going to miss probably somewhere between 6 to 12 months, probably towards the upper end of that scale. Now, obviously, we've been quite critical of Nia Jax on this channel, and understandably so. We did a video a few months ago where we broke down the rate with which she injured opposing wrestlers, and it was shockingly high. I believe it was something like 39, one wrestler every 39 matches, something like that. But at the end of the day, this is a professional who has to make a living, albeit someone who's been pushed all the way to the top very, very quickly. It's still a human being who's going to have to sit out a year of how they make money, of what they do to enjoy themselves. It's not a good story, this.
No, I've never been her biggest fan, but I have to admit that on the microphone, especially recently, she's been doing some stellar heel work. She gets a reaction, and that is all you can really ask for. Like, it's always a shame when anyone gets injured, especially for such a long amount of time. And that is a serious, serious injury
Double ACL.
With a long recovery time, as you mentioned there. Look, maybe it's best she takes some time away from the ring and then hopefully can come back with a renewed impetus and you know, maybe work a different style could help her out a little bit, but you're gonna be limited to a certain extent. But get well soon, that's all we can really say, and hopefully we'll see her in WWE on the sooner end of that scale.
Yeah, I mean, like, the style thing is worth mentioning because she does take some pretty crazy bumps. Like, at WrestleMania, she took a really weird one off the apron. I think, you know, we popped at it for the time because it's Nia Jax and it's kind of funny. But, like, at the end of the day, these people are professionals. We sit here, we laugh and we joke about certain people's skill and so forth on camera. Here's hoping she's just able to recover. Perhaps it would be nice if WWE found a slightly different role for her upon returning. Maybe being such a commodity in the women's division isn't the best position for such an inexperienced wrestler who's still very much putting the pieces together. Either way, it'll be interesting to see what happens when she comes back. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Tamina now, who really only came back onto television to kind of team with Nia and wasn't, I know she had injury problems, but really wasn't being used in any capacity previously, even when she was healthy. Interesting time in the women's division. Could be a lot of upheaval with this move, I feel. Well,
speaking of the women's division there is a story that's coming out that will just not go away regarding Sasha Banks, WWE and AEW. This is one of those stories that you just wouldn't have heard about 5 years ago or 10 years ago because this wouldn't have happened. Apparently over the weekend, eagle-eyed fans have spotted that Sasha Banks has unfollowed WWE and followed AEW, and according to Brad Shepard, she's told WWE she will not be showing up for work this week. This obviously all relates back to Sasha Banks and Bayley dropping their women's tag team titles to the Iconics at WrestleMania. More reports coming out, backstage rumors and the like, that they were not happy with the result of that match. They were, I think I read somewhere they were lying on the floor backstage and lying on the floor.
Ryan sat. A weird scene.
A weird sort of quite childlike reaction to dropping those belts. I can understand where she's coming from in terms of being disappointed to drop those titles, but I really feel there's such a benefit in breaking up those two as a tag team and pushing them as singles wrestlers. That would also go to explain why Bayley got jobbed out to Alexa Bliss on the Raw after WrestleMania if WWE are trying to punish them. But Sasha Banks, well, could be on her way out, but as we know with WWE, they do not let people out of their contracts.
Yeah, I can't see why WWE would let her go, to be honest. She is potentially a huge asset to AEW, who want to push women's wrestling very strongly. Sasha Banks would immediately be the biggest name in that division. Obviously, she wouldn't be wrestling as Sasha Banks. It would be Mercedes KV or whatever her ring name was before that. But I digress. This story is really interesting again. Yeah, Brad Shepard of the Oh You Didn't Know Wrestling show. He's a former WWE writer. He's an insider. He has a track record when it comes to stuff like this, stating that Sasha's just said, yeah, guys, I'm not showing up to work. Imagine telling your boss that. That's bloody mental, isn't it? Only in wrestling.
It is ballsy.
It really is. Look, I don't blame her. I tend to side with Sasha Banks on this issue. I think that if they were promised a lengthy title reign and then WWE just on the night went, nah, sorry, Chiefs, I can see why that would be the final straw for a performer who, let's be honest, has been kind of marginalized over the past year or so. She has been at the heart of a lot of firsts for the company. First pay-per-view headliner, all this stuff. The Charlotte feud was great. She had several title reigns, but none of them lasted. They only lasted a couple of weeks at a time. She
never defended a title on pay-per-view, is that right?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. And at the same time, Sasha Banks, while she has been featured quite prominently at various times throughout her career, she is someone who wants to be the best. She's a wrestling nerd. She wants to be not just the best wrestler, but the biggest name. She's not going to achieve that by doing goofy tag work, with all due respect to the Iconics, with the Iconics. Yeah.
Look, whilst I sit here and say, look, it's probably best, she's a fantastic single star who hasn't really done any big single stuff for, what, 2 years nearly?
A long time. She had the Rousey match, but that was...
Yes, that match aside. Whilst I sit here and say that, and say, look, don't worry about it, it's tag team wrestling, what have you. She has certainly, over the last year, been the victim of a lot of hot shot bullshit. I mean, the random lesbian storyline for a week with Bayley, the weird sort of on-off feud. Look, we all wanted to see Bayley and Sasha feud against each other, and they sort of really half-arsed it. So yeah. I can see how this, arguably on its own, it might seem a bit of an overreaction. You only lost the tag team titles, and you know I'm sure they've got plenty of stuff planned for you in a wide-open women's division. But it could just be the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah,
and just to wrap this whole thing up, I think a lot of the people who are criticising Sasha from this, the problem is that they are looking at it from a fan's perspective. Of course, if you're a wrestling fan and you look at someone who has wrestled on WrestleMania, held titles, headlined a pay-per-view, worked with the likes of Bayley and Charlotte and all this stuff.
Be grateful!
Yeah, exactly. You're going to look at that and think, I would kill for the opportunity. But Sasha Banks isn't just a fan, she's a professional, she's a wrestler. You have to look back into your own experiences as an employee, and that's how you rate stuff like this. Either way, we're going to keep in the women's division for our next story. Ronda Rousey, she's injured, she's knackered, she broke her hand severely at WrestleMania 35 per Dave Meltzer. Well, now according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com, she will be going under the knife tomorrow, Tuesday, and she will be out for a very long time. WWE, if all things go well, hope to have her back either by the end of this year or the start of 2020. Almost said 2019 there, forgot what year it was. So we're not seeing Ronda for a while. Nothing really new there.
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If she, especially, it would almost dovetail quite nicely if she wants to go away and have a family. As you mentioned, she has the surgery, and then she can have some time away, spend some time with her family, with Travis Brown, and hopefully, yeah, be able to go off and have a family. If not, if she decides against that and wants to return to the ring, what happens at the end of the year or the start of 2020, the Royal Rumble match, where, of course, she first turned up in WWE. God, these things, they come together very nicely, don't they?
It's a lovely little circle, especially if she wins that Rumble and then ends up challenging Becky. It's kind of like a nice little flip of this year's storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, regardless, hope the surgery goes well. Get well soon, Ronda. Final news story of the day, and it relates to Shinsuke Nakamura. If you're a fan of his and a fan of WWE, great news, he is going nowhere. As reported by Dave Meltzer, he initially signed a contract with WWE for 3 years in 2016, which takes us up to, 2019. But the good news is he is apparently going absolutely nowhere. He's going to be sticking around in WWE. And I really hope they remember just how good a wrestler he can be when he's asked.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, are they?
No. More tag team wrestling with Rusev, baby.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think a few people will be surprised by this, because Nakamura is one of those guys who is widely talked about as being like undermined and under-promoted and under-pushed and all this stuff. And there is some truth to that argument. There certainly is. If you look at how special like his NXT debut was, truth be told, WWE have never really followed up on that. Like, the NXT run was good. It wasn't great. Like, if you look at the top tier title runs in that developmental brand, Nakamura, in all honesty, probably isn't there. You know, it's not on the same level as a Finn Balor run or the Tommaso Ciampa run we've just had. But at the same time, if you go and have a look at Shinsuke Nakamura's social media accounts, you see a man who just loves living in America, surfing and hanging around with his mates, working this slightly easier style of wrestling where he doesn't have to go out and like really force his broken old body to have these 5-star matches every other week.
You forget how many years he's been wrestling.
Yeah, perspective I think is important. Good for Shinsuke. He's clearly enjoying his life in America. He's clearly enjoying his time in WWE despite the apparent lack of push. I've said that word lots in this video. Yeah, good for him. If he's getting a nice pay rise as well, score.
Put another title on him. Go on.
Yeah, why not?
Final. Right, let's move on in fact to your Twitter questions. You can tweet them at us at WhatCulture WWE. Lots to get through today. Of course, an exciting time ahead of the Superstar Shake-Up. We start with a question about that from Cowboy James, who says, who do you think would benefit the most from the Superstar Shake-Up?
Well, wow, good question. About a week ago, I probably would have said Finn Balor. When he was just, well, over a week ago, he won the belt of WrestleMania. Because he's just kind of floating around aimlessly, not really doing a whole lot. But, you know, now that he's got the Intercontinental title, maybe, I know this is such a foolish wish, but maybe they'll do something more with him. You kind of have to look at people on the roster who you feel are undervalued and underpromoted and so forth. I would say probably the Revival. Like, the SmackDown's tag division is really quite well booked in that they just kind of say, hey guys, go out and have a great match. We're not going to force any soap opera storyline nonsense on you. Just go out there and do what you do best. And I think the Revival could really flourish from the same kind of environment that guys like the Usos and the Bar have over the past year or so.
There's quite a few names that pop into my head when it comes to this. We're going to be doing a podcast on this later on today, myself and the Dadley boys discussing it. So if you want to check that out, What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from. I'm going to say Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, because he needs a change of scene.
Excellent show.
And I want Finn Balor to take the IC title onto SmackDown, and I don't know, I know it kind of muddies the water with Samoa Joe already feuding with Braun Strowman, but if you switch Samoa Joe onto Raw, put the IC title, like Finn Balor versus Andrade, just make it. Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. They're all there. All the feuds are there.
I've got a little mark pick at the end. Buddy Murphy. Get that man on the main roster.
Oh, yes, please. Right. Next question comes from Glenn David Von Wald, who says, what do you guys think of Ricochet winning Money in the Bank?
Interesting prospect. He would absolutely kill it in that ladder match, wouldn't he?
He's almost too good. Him and Aleister Black are those guys who are going to look amazing, but they're going to be like, okay, see that massive ladder over there? Jump off it. Yeah, you ain't winning the briefcase.
Do some mad flips and stuff. I think it's an interesting idea. I don't know if it's something WWE will go with. Following on to what you just said there, Ricochet is a guy I can really see getting over to an extent that Vince McMahon won't like, and then kind of undermining and punishment booking him back down the card, which is really nonsensical, but it's something they do all the goddamn time. Ricochet, with all these flips and all the video game stuff, he could really catch on.
Look what happened to Neville.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, that's exactly what we could be onto here. But Ricochet's an interesting one. I think when you look at the Mr. Money in the Bank or Miss Money in the Bank, you're looking at a potential main eventer. Don't know if Ricochet's quite that yet. He's obviously a phenomenal athlete, perhaps the best in the sport. He's one of the best wrestlers in the company. He is a proper superhero come to life in the ring. On the microphone, not so much. Now, they did give it to Baron Corbin the other year.
Banter.
But Baron Corbin is number one, banter, and number two, a big beefy boy. Ricochet isn't quite that. So I would like to see it. It would be fun. Yeah. It would be interesting, but maybe don't hold out hope on that happening.
No, they're going to put a mid-card title on him before they do anything else.
Yeah.
Who's your early pick for Money in the Bank?
Ooh.
On the men's side, anyway.
On the men's side, Drew, because he's big.
Correct answer is, of course, Dean Ambrose, who isn't going anywhere, and him leaving has always been a work. Again. I'm going to talk about this every single day until he returns to the WWE.
Somebody screen capped my reaction to you saying this the other day.
Or if it's not Dean Ambrose, because, all right, maybe he does leave. If it's not him, Big E. That's what I'm saying right now. Okay. That's my call. Final question comes from the guy who loves wrestling. We all do. He says, what do you think of the prospect of Elias winning the Intercontinental title?
Hell yeah. Give me that right now. Like, one of my favourite types of... I say this all the time on questions when we do the Q&A, but one of my favourite types of title reign in all of wrestling is the troll heel with a mid-card belt, a la the honky-tonk man, who it just so happens was a music-based act just like Elias. When he was Intercontinental Champion, he used to continually duck all these contenders just by being a little Weasley stooge of a horrendous prick. I would adore that if Elias just, has all these challengers that come down and he just brains them with a guitar or he runs away. I think it would be tremendous sports entertainment and I would be thoroughly sports entertained by it.
Now, I am not technically minded, but I'm sure there is some way, somehow, you can make a guitar out of the IC title.
Oh.
String it up.
Woo.
I don't really know how it would work, but I'd love to see it.
Give it a bash. I mean, it would sound like trash, but I mean, I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and big news. If you're going to Monday Night Raw tonight ahead of the Superstar Shake-Up, there is a new chant that's going to be doing the rounds, I'm going to say, suggested by, of all people, Mickie James. Have you seen this tweet?
Carvery, no.
Mickie James says, so if I stay on Monday Night Raw, I mean, can we get Monday Night MILF over or not? Maybe a t-shirt? Asking for a friend. Mickie James, Monday Night MILF. Her words, not mine. Let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and check out our podcast by searching for What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes or Spotify. And you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow Andy at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for horny. You can follow our lovely editor, Phil at Phil My Chambers. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. You can follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. My thanks to Andy. Thank you for watching and we will see you soon.